Are you lucky enough to be racing 70.3 Cairns this year? Well, if so, this is a video for you because in it, myself and an experienced coach and a fellow racer is going to go through what you need to know for the swim, the bike, the run, the transitions, and all the good stuff in between. So, who are we? Well, my name is Coach Steve or Steven Moody, and I am an Ironman U certified coach, but more recently, I'm a YouTuber. I'll say YouTuber, but not influencer because that makes me sound awful. So, what I do for my YouTube channel is I reach out and I review 70.3 and full distance races all around the globe, hence Australia this week. Um, and give you guys, and I just take it in the eyes of an athlete, as in what questions would I ask? Is it a wetsuit legal? As in, is it a road bike, TT bike, yada, yada, yada. But how do I do that? I do that by reaching out and connecting with cool, like-minded individuals and race experts who actually know what's on the ground. And I ask them the questions that you want to ask, and it helps you prepare for a brilliant race day experience. And this is no different for 70.3 Cairns because in it I am delighted to connect to Chris Chatham again, who I've talked to on 70.Geelong and also the full IRONMAN Cairns. Make sure you check out those videos in the catalogue if you're not already. And Chris is racing it this year. So Chris, how are you getting on? How's the training and how are we feeling about the race?
Yeah, g'day, Steve. No, I'm feeling good for the race. It's still quite a bit away. We're looking at middle of the year when it's nice and warm up there and pretty cold where I'm situated. But no, training is sort of just about to tick along. So yeah, I was just mentioning to you before. Once we finish here, I'm heading off for a run because it's early in the morning here, so I'm going to beat the heat today.
Yeah, and just in case he's trying to guilt me, I've already done my turbo session where I sat in 3 hours in the inside because it's horribly cold here in Ireland. So I'm a little bit jealous of Chris. But again, and also Chris is also a fantastic coach as well. Who again I know where he is racing this course like yourselves, but he's also a top coach based in whereabouts are you based again, Chris?
Just out of in Victoria, so in Ballarat, which is about an hour west of, or hour and a half west of Melbourne.
Fantastic, cool. So great guy to catch up with and all the rest, knows the stuff. But let's put him to a test and we'll dive in again. It's my standard pun into the swim section. All right, 70.3 Cairns. Now, and there's also some things we need to highlight as well, because one of the things about this race is it's on the same day as the full, so there's timing logistics, and that's something we'll delve into as we go along. Um, so one loop swim course. What can people expect on the day, Chris?
Yeah, one loop swim course. The few times that I've been up there to do the full distance, it's always been a choppy swim. There's usually a prevailing wind that comes from the southeast. So you do get, with the swim course, you do get a nice little push back for most of the course, which is handy in for the 70.3. Choppy water. Usually the visibility isn't the best, and I'll say all of this. And last year apparently was flat and clear, and it was wonderful. So you can get a little bit of everything, but it guaranteed it'll be warm, regardless of whether it's wet. It's always going to be warm in Cairns in the middle of the year. It's the tropics. It's nothing but warm.
All right. So wetsuit legal. A wetsuit was it optional? What's the expectation?
Generally speaking, it'll be wetsuit optional, which, as I tell my athletes, that makes it wetsuit compulsory anyway. But they do raise the cutoff temperature a little bit, and I think they raise it to about 23 degrees, 24 degrees. And the reason for that is just as a little bit of a safety precaution, because being in the tropics, there is the chance at that time of the year, very, very low chance, but there is the chance that there could be a few extra jellyfish around. So they allow the water temperature to raise a little bit before they make it wetsuit, non-wetsuit, sorry, just as a little bit of a protection, because those the jellyfish that they're trying to protect against are tiny, and yeah, they're fairly lethal. But that time of the year, they're not there. It's the short answer.
They're on their holiday somewhere else. That's fine. That's good.
Yes.
See you later, Jellies. Great. And at the start itself, talk a little bit swim start. It's a rolling swim start, which we'll talk about in the next slide because it's a key factor for our man racing. But the start itself, are they coming off a pontoon? Are you going off a pier? How do people enter the water in the Cairns?
Straight off the Palm Cove Beach, which is a very well known and popular tropical beach in Queensland. It's it's palm cove, a palm tree lined. It is a picture perfect sort of tropical beach, and it's highly photographed, that beach actually, because it's a very, very popular tourist destination, is Palm Cove, and the Cairns region as well. So yeah, just running down sandy beach. I know you're in the northern hemisphere. You guys struggle to know what a beach is. You know, you usually have big rocks on yours. So we have lovely sand. It's very easy on the feet. So it's not like Nice, for example, which is boulders. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you've had more time to because wear down those rocks into nice little grains of sand. We're still young in our country's history. So it's a nice sandy entry into the water. Is it a gradual entry, or people? Is there any drop offs that people can expect? Because you're 100 meters out before you make your first turn.
Yeah, I'll look at you'll be swimming pretty quickly. It's not a massive drop off. It's quite comfortable. A few steps in and then you're just diving in. So it's not a long run out or anything like that. It's not a surf beach because there is the Great Barrier Reef further out that stops all of that. But if that wasn't there, then yeah, there'd probably be surfers. So it drops straight off fairly quickly, but not in a way where you're sort of jumping off the edge.
Great, okay. And it seems simple enough. Was it a couple of turns down, 45 meters here, 185 meters there, and the turn boys again, they'd be quite clearly different colors, or how does that work?
Yeah, and usually the way that I've found that the way that they've sort of demonstrated them on these maps is generally the colours that they'll be. So, you have a couple of orange ones, and then there'll be two big purple ones, and then you sort of follow the red ones down, and keeping them. The siding buoys, you can sort of swim either side, but generally you just keep it on your left for this course.
Fantastic, excellent. And I said could be choppy, but again, it's gonna be on your helping to your advantage on the way home. With the full, as in did the 703 goes in first, or how does that work, or how do we keep each other separate?
Yeah, we start the 70.3 start a lot earlier. I think it's nearly an hour earlier. It's quite an early start for the 70.3s. So you do that, and then yeah, pretty much everyone will be out of the water and done before the pros get in the water for the full distance. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I suppose when you say early, as in like you guys are just used to getting up and training earlier with your weather. Like I was horrified that when some of my friends came back from Australia and said, "Yeah, he went out for a bike." It was like at 5 o'clock, and I went, "Jesus Christ!" Like as triathletes, we get up early, but my God, people, there's a reason why it's called the nighttime.
Yes, yes, and it'll be dark. And Queensland doesn't observe daylight saving, not that they would in June anyway, but I find that when you're closer to the tropics, the light stops and starts fairly quickly. So it'll be dark, and then suddenly it's light, and the opposite happens at the end of the day. If you happen to be doing the full, and I know we're talking about the 70.3, but if you're doing the full, then and you're running that course, yeah, the light disappears very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. As I said, it's like someone I was there in South Africa for a while, and someone literally turned his light switch. I went into the toilet, came back, and this light's
Yeah,
gone.
just switches
Crazy.
off.
Okay, cool. And in terms of getting to the swim start, as in just is it a long walk from transition? Should people wear flip flops? Should be like or steal? I'm a big fan of stealing the slippers from hotels to use in race morning.
A little bit of a walk, probably allow yourself 5-10 minutes just to walk down. Absolutely take a pair of thongs if you want to. They usually put your gear bags down towards that end, so that you can sort of walk down, get changed, and pop it in. There is a lovely walking path that goes along there as well, so it's quite comfortable to walk on. It's just a concrete path, or you can walk on the beach. So just allow 5-10 minutes to get down there from the transition area.
I've just noticed a cultural difference there, which I'm not going to let you away with, as in like thong to us in
Ah,
Europe is quite.
yes,
If people want to wear that
yes.
in a race, we are completely cool, and as in like there's nothing in the rules that Ironman say that's not allowed.
No, no, fully. I'm a bit uncomfortable on the bike, but if you want to wear that, you can. But yes, no, thongs wear on our feet here, so yeah,
Okay.
flip flop for you guys here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, flip-flops is really good. I do expect a lot of Australians to be watching this and understanding, but I said like, where did he just say it? Anyhow, again, every day's a learning day with my friend Chris. Okay, perfect. So in terms of when we get to our swim exit, and again, a little tip from me. So when I say, and this is perfect timing, when you get for this turn, I always get my guys to kick a little bit more aggressively than you will beforehand. Because why do you want to do that? because you're going to be at the water for whatever 30, 40, whatever 50 minutes, and then suddenly you're going up. But if you kick a little bit your legs a bit, it helps with the j legs. It helps the blood circulate to the legs a little bit more, and then you it stops the kind of the wobbly moment. Well, again, minimizes risk. What's our swim exit? Do we run up on the beach, or is it a pontoon or beach again?
Back up onto the beach. Now the beach itself isn't. It's not a really wide beach. It's fairly narrow between the sort of the footpath and then where the water edge is. So yeah, it's only a short run up the beach. And again, being soft sand, there's no issues there. They don't roll out carpet or anything to sort of soften it. You don't need it. It's really quite an easy run.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll talk about transition in a sec, but just in terms of some key things, we're going to talk about the rolling swim start in a sec, but cut-off time from start to finish, and we'll talk about this only starts when you cross your timing mat here, is 1 hour and 10 minutes. Any other last minute tips on the swim course before we talk about rolling starts?
Probably just be aware of the time, like really read the athlete guide to make sure that you've allowed yourself enough time to get there to set up, transition, a little bit of a walk down, and then find your swim zone that you want to swim in. Given that it's a split transition, and I mean, Palm Cove has a lot of accommodation, and we've got some people going who have been before, and they love staying in Palm Cove, and then they'll make their way down to Cairns. So have a think about where your accommodation is as well, because you've got options in Palm Cove, but most people probably stay in Cairns. And if you do stay in Cairns, you're about 30 kilometres away, so you need to ensure you allow enough time to get up there.
Great call. Excellent. Okay, and now we'll talk a little bit about rolling swim start or seated swim start, or as my Canadians call it, a pulse swim start. As I said, I'm linguistically expanding my knowledge here, as I said, and now I know that if I do ask for, I shouldn't be wearing thongs on my feet. Um, Rolling swim starts are something that Ironman put in place due to they did a little bit of research and they thought the numbers are dropping off and all the rest, and said, why don't you step up from Olympic distance? People going like the swim start looks absolutely mental because there's 2,000 people. It used to be everyone piling in all at once. Majestic looking sight, absolutely awe-inspiring, but terrifying if you think you're going to be in it. Google Ironman Nice, Ironman Lanzarote for like around 2015 or whatever. Those were it gives you an idea. So Ironman, being the clever people they are, and I'm hoping that they will encourage more people to sign up, I came up with this innovation called a rolling swim start. This means that when you arrive on race day, as in on that beach, there will be corrals or pens. And actually, they do mention the number of the pens here. There's going to be three, under 33 minutes, 33. So you will put yourself in this corral and it will be very clearly marked. And what does that mean? That means that they will allow the faster swimmers off at the front, right? That means let them get the open water, let them go with the little fish away and they swim like 120 per 100. And if you're kind of more of a normal human type swimmer like myself, who's going to be looking for 35, 40 minutes, you'll be back there. And how they funnel people into the water, you'll come to here and there will be some sort of gates. I'll get Chris's confirmation on this, but this is how they work in America, by the way. Volunteers holding you back. The timing mats are here. You can actually see them here. A beep will go off every 5 seconds. These guys will raise their arms. And by the way, before you go, say thank you because the volunteers give up their time. These guys aren't paid. They're just triathlon enthusiasts. And then they're in the water, 3, 4, or 5, depending on the numbers. And these guys are off. And that's how they control the flow. So, Chris, is this kind of similar to the setup in terms of the gates? And if it is, what advice do you give to a newbie and how they see themselves? Is it a good idea to get at the front, get at the back? What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same, Steve. It's what it looks like, and beep every 5 seconds. There's 4 or 5 of you in a row, and there'll be volunteers, and they'll just literally have their arms out. When the beep goes, raise their arms. You just run past them, and it's about. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that actually is from Cairns. It's sort of all very similar to what it looks like there. So, in terms of seating, they'll have those big signs up along the beach with those different time expectations. So, you self-seed in that regard. My advice is always move towards the front. You want to be around people who are, if they're not your pace, they're a little bit faster. And you'll get an idea of where you sort of fit. So, if you're close to that mark, maybe move, right to the front. If you're a little bit back, I can't remember what those time ones were, but if it's a 35 time and then think you're at 40, maybe just a little bit back from the front. So try and put yourself, what have we got there? So under 33 minutes, so if you're a 30-minute swimmer, get yourself up the front. If you were sort of sitting in zone 3 with, say you're a 36-minute swimmer, then maybe towards the front of the 37 minutes, and you're going to put yourself in a nice spot there. So it's about putting yourself around people who are going to be a little bit faster than you, so that you've got feet, hips, and bubbles to chase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, as I said, but the other bit of advice is that don't put yourself too far in. Again, the key thing is your timing only starts here. You get the classic age group mistake where they go, "Oh, I'm tight for toe off. If I put myself up here with the 30-minute swimmers, I'll give myself more spare time." You won't. You'll get just swam over. No, but 100% agree with you. Get up, and again, it's all about chasing feet. Drafting in the swim is 100% legal. It's illegal in the bike. We'll talk about that later. But drafting is a smart thing to do. And again, as I said, do make sure you say thank you to the volunteers. They are giving their time. Don't do what I did in Ironman Mallorca. It did get a bit of a giggle, but it was probably me crossing the line a little bit. It was a very good looking Spanish girl, and I was chatting to her in my pidgin Spanish. And just before I went, I gave her a big kiss in the cheek. And it got a big cheer, but I'm pretty sure I embarrassed the poor girl. But again, maybe she's just delighted. And also, she couldn't really recognize me because it was neoprene. So, but again, but be polite to them. Just maybe not that polite. Okay, we will move on to we'll talk about transition. Now, for those new to transition, it is the Ironman again have a bag system, which means that you operate a clean transition. And this means you will have to, the night before, put everything into a blue bag, which is your swim to bike bag, and a red bag, which is your bike to run bag. And it means that you can have everything. It means you have more room for bikes, which is going to be key because it's there are kind of is a split transition. It's also the 70.3 and the full are on the same day. Um, and you have to think about it this way. When you come out of the water, you'll get to the bike, your blue bag. You'll have got your wetsuit off. You'll take your helmet out. You'll take your shoes out if they're not on the bike. And then you put the wetsuit in the bag and you'll either hang it back up in the rack or there'll be volunteers to take it. But what you need to do is make sure you know what's going to go in your blue bag. It sounds a bit confusing if you're new to it, but again, there's a video in the comments below that talks you through what goes in the bag, why, etc. And it's very logical and it does actually help you through the day. In terms of transition one, as in going from our swim to our bike, what are your top tips for the nervous athlete, shall we say, Chris?
Um, Take your time, I think, and making sure that you've actually spent the time the day before you've gone up and racked it, that you've actually got everything that you need. I tend to work backwards. So, if I'm sort of thinking about when I'm taking stuff out of my bag, what is it I want to take out first? And I kind of, when I'm packing my bag, I kind of work in reverse. So you're making sure that I've got everything that I want in there. I may put just a little bit extra in. If I was a first time athlete, I was a bit worried about how I was going to go. I might put a bit of extra nutrition in there if I was concerned that I didn't have enough, or maybe just a couple of Panadol or something if I was worried about pain or something like that. So, you know, your bag stays there. You can collect it later, and what you don't need, you can leave in the bag. They're not overly huge, but there's definitely enough room to sort of put all of that sort of stuff in there. The biggest things that's going to fit in your bike bag are going to be your shoes and your helmet, and then really the rest of the space is for whatever else you need. So, I guess with the Cairns one, it's quite a tight transition area in that they use a car park. I think it's just next to the caravan park, but it's a bit of a tight space only because where there's not a car park, there's rainforests. So they don't have this ability to sort of spread right out like on a big oval like they do at some of the other Ironman events around the country. So it's just a little tight. You just got to be careful that you take your time because everyone's sort of compacted in, and you can have some people who are rushing around, and bags might get kicked and that sort of stuff. So they have seats in the tent, the change tent. So just finding a spot, sit down, take your time. For new people, breathe. Just breathe. You've come out of the swim. You're probably going to be a bit lactic, puffing around, puffing a bit, and you're going to be sort of wanting to get on the bike. But just taking that time to breathe and just taking and working your way through your bag and getting your gear sorted will put you in good stead for the bike.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always tell my guys take transition one nice and handy because it's if you there's less chance to correct things if you drop nutrition if you like you was it you get a stone in your a bike shoe, that's going to cause an issue. Whereas in the run, you can fix it. There's a lot more time to turn around. And you
Mm,
mentioned something really critical there about actually knowing the flow, about how you're going to walk, how you're going to get from your swim to where your bike is going to be racked, which will be by number. How that flow means running past where your blue bag is, where you'll pick that up, where the change tent is, where the bike mount line is, where you have to get past the bike mount line before you get on. There's a cool thing that the Australians do, as in again, this is my learning as well, and we'll talk about it in the race day timings, that they actually do transition tours. So that there will be guys who will walk you through it, and definitely take advantage of that. So it's such a godsend because and I tell guys, take pictures of what you need to remember, where your bike is racked, and make sure it's beside something that, or you reference point to something inanimate and large that will not move. So don't pick a bike because that might not be there. But if it's two racks down from a portaloo, or it's a straight line across, great, etc. Just make sure you know how to do that angle. And then also remember when you're coming back in or from the run and into T2 when we're going to get ready for the run, it'll be different. So make sure you walk that angle too because it will look quite different. And as Chris said, breathe, take your time. Like you're better off to be moving steadily than in a panic. And like you need to set yourself up. You've just killed a swim. You're going to smash the bike. Make sure you set yourself up for success. Any other top tips for T1 for our athletes, Chris?
yeah, so they give us, and I'm not sure it probably happens in other countries as well. They give you like a wristband that permanently, well, has to stay on for the duration of the event. So
Yeah.
if you're unsure about, say, the racking number for where your bag is, so they've all lined up in rows with these hooks. So if you're unsure about, which row you're in, or maybe your bike row, you can actually use that little wristband. I will get a permanent marker, and there's usually a little space on there, and I'll actually just write the numbers on there so that if I'm forgetting which rack I'm in or where my bike is located, I've got a reference point that I can actually go back to and read on that. Um, I wouldn't recommend putting it on. Some people write it on their hand, and that's a bit.
Yeah.
Will it survive the swim? So yeah, you can probably on your wristband as a way just to try and remember where you are. I tend to take photos. Where it is now. I don't write anything down. I'll take a photo and then just the night before or even the morning of, before the phone sort of goes away, I'll have a quick look just to remind me. And usually by then it's pretty good. The other thing with transition is usually when you're dropping the bags off, you're often sort of funneled into transition in reverse. So taking the time to sort of really look at the flow and actually, where as much as possible, walk the transition the way that you would on race day will actually help know, yeah, sort of where to look for, what those landmarks are, for where your bike's located, that sort of thing.
Yep, top tips, like it. Okay, so again, look, I hope you're enjoying the video. And again, Chris again is still being a fountain of knowledge. I'm delighted always to chat to him. These are our kind of YouTube handles. Make sure you check them out. I'll put Chris's contact details as well in the comments below. Top coach. If you really want to get ready and bulletproof for this coach for this race, you would do very well to talk to him and hire him as your coach. I believe he's doing an offer if you beat him. It's free for the year. Uh, okay. I have that. That was me ad-libbing somewhat. You may need to discuss this with them. I've often threatened that, as in like with some of my guys, but I also beforehand I just go like, so what's your PB for 70.3?
Well, I've had a couple of athletes already ask me that, so maybe they're eyeing that sort of thing off
Yeah.
themselves. Look, there is always something about beating the coach, isn't there?
Oh,
And
it's the bragging rights. It's
yeah,
perfect. But as I said, I do need to separate it from. I try. I'll go with it. Right, whoever beats me, I'll buy them a beer. I'm not
yeah,
refunding you all your money. The last 6 months of training.
yeah.
That's what I need to buy bikes with. Okay, so as I said, do reach out to Chris, top guy. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the video if you're enjoying it, and tell your friends, share it. Again, let's make sure people are as well prepared as possible. And then if loads of people beat Chris in a day, he has to buy loads of beers. But it will be his own fault because he's prepared you with all this great information. What a good guy. Right, we are on the bike course. Now we start on T1 here and we start out, which direction do we head off, Chris? Is it
Yeah, we head north. So we come out of T1 and we hit the main road there, the Captain Cook Highway, and turn right. and basically we head towards Port Douglas, and it's a spectacular bike ride. It really is. You're through the rainforest. You are essentially right on the ocean. There's sections there where there is only a few meters between you and the water. It's just a magical bike ride. Love it.
And while we talking road surface, smooth, suave.
Yeah, very good road surface. It's a very popular tourist route, so they do maintain it very well. It's undulating, so there is gets a little bit lumpy and bumpy up around that Rex Lookout, which is the highest point. It's not the most, I guess, it hasn't got the most amount of elevation by comparison to some of the other events around in Australia, but it's got some elevation to it. But it's a lot of fun. They're sort of short, pinchy little climbs. The Rex Lookout being the biggest one, but as soon as you're up it, you're down again, and you get a bit of fun. You get a bit of a reward for your effort up the bumps as well. So um, the asphalt surface, it's not pancake smooth. It's the tropics. There's lots of rain, so they tend to have a slightly larger rock involved. But in saying that, it's very well used road. So there's certainly some very smooth spots. It's a good road to ride on.
Okay, and in terms of the course, we head down the Captain Cook Highway, we turn and we head back up, and and then straight back down again into Cairns, which is into our T2. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, it's just a one lap bike course. So you start essentially in the middle of the course, head north. You get all the way up to Taylor Beach and do a turn. Remembering in Australia, we drive on the left hand side, so you're sticking to the left. Um, and then it's a run all the way back down into Cairns, which can be a little bit challenging once you sort of pop out at once you pass the where you went past at Palm Cove. So you're fairly protected for the most part of the northern section of the course, just because you're sort of in amongst the rainforest. If there's any wind, there'll be pockets where you'll get affected by it. You're not going to notice it as much if the prevailing southeasterly is blowing. You're going to get anything you're going to get heading north is going to be a bit of a tailwind. But then, of course, the flip side is when you come back, it's going to be a bit of a headwind. That'll be most noticeable once you pop out from the rainforest at around about Palm Cove. You sort of come inland a little bit, you get into the farmland, which is mainly sugarcane, and it's a lot more wider and open. So if there's any sort of wind, it's going to be in that last section that's going to really hit you.
Okay. But mainly head on, you said, rather than sidewind. So the classic road bike or TT bike, and if you have it, disc wheel or deep rim wheels, what would your recommendation be?
Yeah, TT with a disc. Yeah, it's a great course for the disc wheel. There's no issues there at all. Yeah, you're going to get, if anything, you'll get a slight headwind. Yeah, more of a headwind coming back. It'd be rare for it to be like a tailwind, and coming from the side, probably not as much. It's going to be probably coming from your front left, if that makes sense. Probably about 11 o'clock on the dial, if you're sort of thinking as you're heading south.
Okay, cool. All right. And then in Cairns, which onto a separate transition, which we'll have dropped our bags off beforehand. Any other last minute tips on the bike course? It sounds like a nice little track.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's probably the one tip I give is if you've got a lot of spectators, it's not the best course for spectators because of just how it's difficult to get in there because you've got all the rainforest on your left and there's no sort of access points. So really, it's if you've got spectators there to watch you or family, friends, whatever, they see you off at swim, they might see you leave on the bike, and then I would recommend that they catch the shuttle bus back down to Cairns, spend a couple of hours down there checking out the tourist town, and then wait for you to come off the bike.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Alrighty. In terms of getting it done, you've got 5 hours 30, kind of standard. We'll talk a little bit about aid stations now because we both know how key that is to having a successful race day. Right, I shall do my little rant. Chris has been on 3 videos with me. He knows what's coming. This is the way a standard aid station will work. You will have two kind of key aid points. One that go rubbish or trash, as Americans were watching it, or and it's both ends, right? The first thing we're going to talk through, which is vitally important, one, the only place that you can drop a water bottle, a gel wrapper, a banana, I don't care what it is between this point and this point on an aid station. And if you do not, there's two things that's going to happen. One, you're going to be known as a dick in the triathlon community. Two, if you are spotted by a marshal, you correctly get disqualified because you have to remember we need to be ambassadors when we are racing. We are guests in Cairns. We need to make sure we make it as easy as possible for Ironman to come along and do that whole we are here and then we're gone thing. And they're very good at it if everyone starts putting like their water bottles here. So that's key. Please, please, please do not litter. You have the options of toilets. You have the way that aid stations work. They have almost like a mirror element. You have water, electrolyte, which again needs to be announced on the day, which it is. Or do you know what the electrolyte will be on Cairns at this stage? Or
Yeah, I've actually just got it's precision hydration.
cool, that's really good stuff that we use in
Mm.
Europe. We were giving you the good stuff. We're not giving you that mortal hydration crap. Um, the These will be in bottles that will slot into your standard bottle cage. There'll be food, there'll be bananas, there'll be was it energy bars, Morton gels, and then if you've missed your water bottle the first time, you're not going to panic because there's a second chance. There is toilets again. So this is the flow, and volunteers will step out and they will offer you whatever you're looking for. But some key things that we're going to talk through a little bit. This is a high risk area on the course. If you think about it, A, it's the first place you can litter. B, there's lots of people trying to interact with volunteers, pick up something, one hand, lodge it into the bottle, and then get back out. So it's key you're really, really very vocal and very communicative about what you're going to do. And I mean this while you're coming in. You'll know where the aid stations are because they're on the map, and I recommend you print them and put them in the stem. And there'll be signs 500 meters to an aid station. Get yourself in the right lane and then start going. I'm going into the aid station. Start talking to people beside you, behind you, and all the rest so you don't suddenly veer in. Then when you see a volunteer, you kind of start communicating, pointing. I'm looking for a water bottle, and you make eye contact, you point, and then they'll go, okay, I'm giving this guy water, la la la. Say thank you when you pick the bottle up. And then when you get that, or if you're going to get pick up another piece of fruit or whatever, sort that out, and then tell people you're coming out. Don't just sort of go, oh, I got my water bottle and veer out. I did see it in 70.3 Duisburg. Some guy just did it and veered into two other guys who had their head down in the TT position, wipe out all three. You gotta be aware. You've got to be careful. You got to know how to handle an aid station. I do have a little video on that. It shows video demos how to do it, what you should practice, the key things, and there's a cool little acronym in there as well because you need an acronyms. Um, but it's just very vitally important that you're switched on at this and know when you're going to use this in an aid station, what part of your nutrition strategy, or else you potentially will shorten your race and one of your competitors. Anything you want to add on that? I know I always hog the aid station because I love my little video. But anything else you want to add there on that, Chris?
I think if 70.3 is obviously, there's going to be people doing that potentially for their first time, and they may not have actually practiced taking a water bottle from someone standing on the sideline. So having a chance to actually practice that, get your partner to stand out on the side of the road that you're riding on and practice actually taking a bottle from them, allowing, you're not going to come through at full speed. You've got to back off the speed just a little bit, but if you come off too much, then you're going to cause issues for the people behind you. And sit up, don't you? You're not going to do it in the TT position either. So definitely practicing taking the water bottles. The other bit around the litter, I'll just back that up. It's really important, particularly up in Cairns. I mean, it's important everywhere, but in Cairns, most of those aid stations are located literally in World Heritage rainforest. So it's really important. They promote it really well and advertise it really well in terms of looking after the environment up there. And they do a few other initiatives. I know I was up there a couple of years ago. They changed a couple of things in terms of what they were offering because it was, I can't remember exactly what it might have been, the cups on the cups on the run course, they were biodegradable
Okay.
as opposed to the traditional plastic, so that if they did happen to lose any of it, they actually broke down and they were fine because it's a pristine environment up there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100% on that. And you're right. Yeah, this is it. And it's also like I said, I get that in my long when I was first getting out. I'm quite adept at aid stations now, but like it's quite unusual that feeling where you're sort of trying to slow yourself down and then trying to grab something. If you don't get the speed right, you'll knock it out of hands. There's video demos how that works. So even that, and again, do at the end of a long ride when you're tired. Say, listen, I'm coming in around 10 minutes, and just go up and down. You don't have to. They don't need to set up the entire setup of was it tables and all the different options. It's just literally hold out a water bottle in and just see what it takes to kind of get it in. So practice is key. Alrighty, so we have done our tracking a little bike course, and we are now back in separate transition area, which is in Cairns itself, not Camp Palm Beach. And we are now we're coming to the bike dismount line, which you need to stop entirely before you get off the bike, before you can actually get off the bike. And then you will be running with the bike, and you'll rack your bike. Or are there bike catchers in 70.3?
No, no. We used to have them in the full distance, but they've pretty much gone with COVID as well. So yeah, we don't have them. You've got to rack your own bikes.
Okay, but this is also part, as we discussed earlier, that knowing where you've got what your when you're running with your bike, where you're going to, and then you'll pick up your run bag, which your helmet will go into. By the way, you can only touch your helmet after you've racked your bike, and then your runners, and then out to the run exit. What's your favorite tip for a newbie doing T2?
Um, it- it's do as little as possible in transition. So in terms of, you're going to get off the bike, your legs are going to be warmed up. So it's not like coming transitioning from a swim to a bike where, you're going from horizontal to vertical. So, I tend to get my athletes just to, in that last maybe couple hundred meters, I get them to spin their legs a little bit more just to start waking them up a little bit. Um, but once you're in transition, it's sort of getting your bag and getting your shoes on, and then just getting out pretty much as quick as you can and get onto the run and keep moving, because if you're going to cramp, it's going to be there. Um, and it's just good to keep moving. I like to put my nutrition in like a little plastic baggie, so it's all contained in one area, and then I can just grab it and run with it. Things like your sunnies and your hat and anything like that, your race belt, you can put that on as you're running out. It's really, you just need to get your shoes on and get going, and then have everything else, shoved in your pockets, and do it before as you're running out.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like the only thing you need to worry about is really sort of getting the helmet in the bag and get your shoes on. And once the shoes on, you can do everything in motion. When you're moving, you're improving. And again, as our squad have it, it says NGI T2. Nothing good happens in T2. You see guys sitting down, you see them rubbing their calves, and you go like, mate, you're just inviting cramp. As in, just and they're sitting and they're kind of adjusting the sunglasses and went, dude, that's like around 5, 10 steps you could have already taken, and you'd be
Yep.
closer to the finish line. So yeah, definitely get moving and just get out. As in, the go bag, I love. I get my guys to wrap their gel and the sunnies in their baseball cap, whatever, like, and therefore they have to kind of take that out, and they can't. They go, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Coach Steve said, keep moving. So no, short, fast, and out onto our cracking little run course. So what can they expect for? It's a 2 lap course. Um, and talk us through it there, Chris.
Yeah, it's dead flat. There's no elevation to it at all. And it's right along the whole tourist precinct of Cairns. So for the vast majority, you're going to have a lot of people around watching, which is fantastic. And yeah, given that it's also a full distance, there's actually going to be additional people there, and they'll have a great club village there. It gets a little bit lonely out the top end, just because you're up near the airport. But yeah, it's for the vast majority, you're running along in a parkland. It's a concrete path. You're in amongst the sort of the botanical gardens, for want of a better term. It's not the actual botanical gardens, but yeah, no, it's a nice little parkland along there. Down the bottom end there's few little technical turns. You sort of go out on the jetty. There's you're sort of in around some of the hotels in there. There's a few bars in there that are very popular at that time of the day. And then just down where that's got R2 down the bottom there, there's actually a big brewery down there as well that you sort of run near. So it's really, really pretty. It's a lot to look at. And being a 2 lap course, you sort of get to look at it twice. And yeah, just as you're coming back towards the finish, they'll have the club row set up there, and on one side you'll have the club row, so all the athletes and sorry, all the athlete supporters and all the squad tents, and on the other side you've got essentially the main tourist district. So a lot of bars, a lot of tourists, a lot of people sitting around cheering you on. So it's usually a really good vibe on that run course.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have an issue with having a 7.3 and aren't a full on the same day in terms of the numbers and logistics, but it does it just sort of condensed the supporting group. Like you've got much more out there. Like I've done it when they had it 703 to full in Barcelona, and yes, it was congested on the bike course, but the actual support level was off the charts when I got there. So yep, no, and we'll talk a little bit about aid station layout again. By the way, my little rant still stands for your rubbish in this area. Your water. The only difference really you have is you'll have probably a little bit more variety in terms of the food. There's like pretzels and salts. Like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you guys hand out?
Uh,
Tin cans?
it varies. Yeah, it varies between each of them, and you sort of run. I've found when I've gone past some of them, I sort of have a bit of a look and go, "Oh, they've got that available." They'll do things like, little. Sometimes they'll have biscuits available, like what we call Anzac biscuits. Sometimes they'll do Vegemite on a stick, which gives you a lot of salt. Yeah, and you can sort of, if you if you're having some trouble with your cramping and you haven't got something to deal with that, then if they've got the Vegemite there, it's just usually like half a teaspoon, if that, and you just sort of pop it in your mouth and just keep it to the side. You don't want to swallow it. You won't like it, especially if you're not used to it. But it's very quite salty, so you can pop it just in the side and just sort of let it stew away there and absorb in. So there'll be bananas, there'll be watermelon, there'll be pretzels, that sort of stuff. It does depend on each other. They'll also have, like they've got the cola, there'll also be Red Bull. There's usually a separate Red Bull station, which they don't tend to mark on the courses. So all it'll offer will be Red Bull. It won't be food or anything else. It's just literally, and they usually have the Red Bull DJ there, and it's a bit of a party central. So yeah, they'll usually
Nice.
have that.
I don't think I've heard of anything as Australian and Vegemite on a stick at an aid station. I
Mm.
think that's classic. I know certain races trying to put their little stamp on it, but that's the most Australian thing I've heard. Fantastic. And there's loads of aid stations. There's one every mile and the rest. Don't miss an aid station. Make sure you're taking on board something, even if it's just to swish something around your mouth or if it's pouring water down the back of your neck to keep on top of your temperature management. Or if you want to try Vegemite out for the first time in your life, I tried it. It's horrible. I don't recommend it. Sorry, Australia. I know I'm definitely splitting the audience 50-50
Yeah.
here. Any other tips on the run course there, Chris?
I think just enjoy it. It's just a really spectacular sort of course. It's nice and condensed, which is really good. It's just I think in terms of temperature management, it'll always be warm in Cairns. And they will have ice available. Being 70.3 and being first, they may not have as much available because they might wait for more of the Ironman athletes to come through before they start bringing out the ice. But just keep on top of your temperature management because you're probably going to be finishing somewhere around midday, maybe a little bit after midday, and at that point, it can be pretty warm. And if it's not warm, in terms of by Cairns standards, it still might be mid 20s. The humidity could be quite high, so you just got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cool. And in terms of getting it done, swim, T1, bike, T2, and run, 8 minutes 30 to get it done. And this is where you're going. And look at this, lads. Love this. It is like look at all those Australians out in the midday sun. And again, looks like a great little finish line. Is it a separate finish line to the actual full, or is it how does that work? See, that's a question.
No, I believe it's the same finish line. They just changed that signage at the top.
Oh, it's yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's actually an electronic sign. I was going like,
yep.
oh, that's pretty impressive. Okay, cool. There you go. Live and learn. This is my 50th plus video race review video. And I'm still learning. Iron Man, you're so clever. Um, okay. So in terms of some other considerations, just we've mentioned nutrition and about the aid stations. You got to know how, when, what you're carrying, etc., and what calorie intake you're going to take. I have a video on that. Myself and Chris could talk about this, and I can actually do a podcast, and we might do that, Chris, actually. But a short, condensed version of that, there it is, in the links below. Lots of people are going to come over to Cairns. As you said, it's an absolutely beautiful part of the world, tropics, etc. Here's how you pack your bike. Here's a little handy checklist. And the part that actually it's going to be difficult for you, Chris, because you'll be tapering as well, and you'll be going through the madness. This is the part where myself and Chris as coaches earn our money, as in like we have athletes coming panicking because they're tapering and not doing this, and they go like, there's some tips on how to taper correctly in the video below. Um, but Chris will be doing his own taper madness. So, last minute tips: watch this video again, tell your friends, like, subscribe, but also read the athlete brief. Keep an eye. Make sure you've got your logistics tied down. Book your bike in for a service. Attend an athlete briefing. Do a transition tour. Everything about these little tips in here to get yourself set up. It'll help you reduce stress on race day. All there. So we'll talk a little bit about the race day timetable. You can check in as early as Thursday. What's your take on that? Do you get you guys to check? Well, actually, what are you going to do? Are you going to check in straight away, or what's the plan?
Yeah, I check in Thursday whenever it opens. I tend to like to arrive on the Wednesday. I'll check in on the Thursday, and then it just gives me a little day up my sleeve just in case something happens. So if I'm missing something on my bike or something happened in transit, I've got a day up my sleeve to fix it. I also, particularly with these events, with the Ironman, when there's a full Ironman associated, there's a little bit more available. There's a bigger event village, there's more distractions. So I'll tend to spend my day Thursday, I've done my check-in. If I want a new coffee cup or something, that's the day I'll go and get it from the Ironman tent. And then pretty much Friday, I stay away and just chill out. So I get it done nice and early just to allow myself plenty of time should something go wrong.
Yeah, no, 100 thing. I agree with you 100%, and I'm the same as, and I like to get there a few days early. Like even just, I actually love watching to see the whole village build up because it's
Mm.
really impressive. They literally do it in a day. Like they come, the trucks are there, and then it's like someone adds water and it goes pops up. Um, but you're right, and get it out of get in, get out, because two things will get drained in the athletes' village. One, your nervous energy. We start looking around, everybody looks taller, stronger, faster, fitter, yada yada. But also the second thing that will get drained is your credit card balance. So
Hmm.
question to you, Chris. Are you strong in terms of saying no to new Ironman merchandise? Or do
Yeah,
you
pretty
still
much. I always I add it to my coffee cup collection, so that's it. So I go in, get my coffee cup, and just add that in, and that's all I need to do. So there's the odd time where I've got a bit excited, and I made sure I was there nice and early on. I think the day after, for all the race finisher gear. So I needed one for Ironman Nice a couple of years ago. So, but generally speaking, no, it's coffee cup, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, I'm weak in that. I always get loads of stuff as an and as someone said, I think said, do you have anything else to wear aside from Ironman branded gear? I said, no.
No, yeah,
But I was in Duisburg and I was putting on a top and I arrived late. It was just something that happened and it was very unlike. But and I got in and there wasn't an awful lot left. And I was trying to put myself and I picked up the medium sized kind of was a top and it was lovely and I put it on and I was going, oh my God. And I was going, I can't fit. Have I put on weight in the taper? This is terrible. And like a nice lady comes over and goes, look, I can see you're panicking and I just want to reassure you what you're trying to put on is the ladies medium and the men's are over here.
yeah, yeah,
Race brain, as in like the minute you
yeah,
like very intelligent people, very smart people, put them in a race environment, and they become plunkers. Okay, so
yeah.
Friday, what have we got? Do we have key things? There's a lot of stuff on, isn't there? There's the because there's Iron Kids, athlete check-in, there's massage options. Um, do they have on Saturday? I'm more curious. Do they have a chance to do uh what you call it, a practice swim, or is that allowed or not allowed?
Yeah, it's usually space to the side. I don't know whether it's to the left or the right of the swim start, but there's usually space available in Cairns where you can actually do a swim. That's on race morning. In terms of swimming before the event, so on the days leading up to, yeah, don't go into the beach. There's big lizards up there, and they like to snap. So, yeah, they're called crocodiles. So we don't go, especially off Cairns. You can, the tide will come in and it'll look fantastic, but you don't swim there. You probably just do it once. So there's a couple of lovely pools up there. There's an opportunity to go and do open water swimming. Sorry, no, closed water swimming there, just in a pool. But if you want to do an open water swim, Palm Cove is probably better. There's less likely, but always swim between the flags. Just so there's some supervision. And the lifeguards up there will, advise if if there's a crocodile around, then they'll close it. Now, Palm Cove, every now and then they'll see a lizard on the beach there, but it's not as common. But down around Cairns, you're right on an estuary there, and that's where they like to live. So that's why you don't go in the water in Cairns.
Cool. All right, got it. And then other key things that will happen on the Saturday, as you said, you drop off your bike and your bags, as in you will be dropping off your doodle your bike and your blue bag in one location, and then your red bag in another location. So plan that logistics accordingly. Um, do they give out the timing chip when you check in the bike, or do they give that out at registration? There's a bit of a difference between a European and an Australian.
I believe it'll be when you rack your bike, you'll then get your timing chip on the way out. Um, they do split the timing, so we do something up here, do something here where you actually book your time to rack your bike and check your gear in. They It's not as much, they don't police it, but it's about just spreading everyone out, so not everyone's turning up at the same time. So book your time. Be aware of the temperature. So when you are racking your bike, you might want to reduce some pressure out of your tires from the day before if it's going to be a hot one. So they don't have to be dead flat, but just reducing the pressure a little bit will avoid a bit of a race morning catastrophe. Um, and they also run shuttle buses as well between Cairns and Palm Cove, so that some people will actually ride their bikes up as a bit of a
Okay.
warm up ride the day before, and then they'll catch the shuttle bus back. Other people just take the bus up and back. So there's options there. You need to book the bus. It's usually free for athletes
That's why our
on
little tags are
yeah
useful as well. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be free on race morning, and I'm pretty sure it's free on for athletes during the racking, and they run it outside of that for everyone else. It's pretty cheap. It's like $5 each way or $10 each way or something like that.
Cool, excellent. Another thing, by the way, I'll just point out here, the transition tours which you talked about, there's there's lots more. I just didn't have it was really poor slide. So I think there's one every hour all the way up till 3 p.m. So it's 10, 11, 12, 1, la la, and do take advantage of that.
Yep.
Okay, so Sunday, race day, there's our shuttles going. Transition opens. When does transition open? Transition bike opens at 5. Our race will start at 6:35. Last
Yep.
minute tips for people in terms of setting themselves up and getting themselves ready for race day. Oh, one thing before I'm gonna steal a tip here.
Mm.
When you're racking the bike and you're leaving your bags out and the blue bag, don't leave any food or kind of your bike computer on it because you will have access to that in the morning, I do believe. And you don't and the Australia's got way too many living things and sort of and scary things going on in here. You don't want to leave things food that is going to attract it. God knows what gargantuan spider will come and try to eat your energy gels. So and another tip as well is put the bike bottle on in the morning because that means it's not sitting out whatever in the sun,
Yep.
etc. But your tips
Yeah.
for setting yourself up, mate, on race day morning.
Allow yourself plenty of time. Don't, look at that time. So transition opens at what was it? It was 6 a.m., 5 a.m. Sorry,
Okay, yeah.
and then race start is at 6:35. So and you've got to allow that 10-minute walk down to the start. So you know, allow yourself plenty of time. I like to get there not long after transition has opened, because again, if something happens, then I've got time to deal with it as opposed to walking in late and not being able to deal with it. So get there early. The worst that'll happen is you're done early and you just get to sit on a beach for an extra few minutes before you start. So that'd be my main tip, is just get there nice and early.
Yeah.
It is a very early start, given that the shuttle service starts from 4 a.m. It won't be light until almost, well, it'll be light at race start, but it won't be full light by then either. So you spend a fair bit of time in the dark that morning in Cairns.
Head torch, or they do have the lights on as well. Like I think I've always laughed at people coming with head torches to Ironman races because they do tend to have fairly good flood lighting as well.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I don't take a torch anymore. I used to. Yeah, I read that when I first started doing this, and pack a head torch, and I did that. I usually have my phone on me. wander out to the bar. Really, the only reason I need any lighting on race morning is just to make sure that I can put my pump onto my bike to make sure my
Yeah,
tyres are right and I can actually read the dial. And that's about it. Yeah.
yeah, no, agreed. Alrighty, we will wrap it there, mate. And before we do, by the way, look, before I do my stand thanks, um, there is Chris's email. As I said, from even just 5 minutes at the start, if you're listening all the way through, you can tell he's a very knowledgeable guy. He's racing this course, so if you're looking for a top coach that will help you get ready for this race day within an inch of your life, if it's your first one, if you're looking to PB, Chris is your man. He's already researching this course to make sure he PBs. So there's his contact details. I'll put them in the comments below and make sure to contact him. And with that, I'm just gonna again, Chris, it's been a pleasure as well. Again, I do appreciate it. I've delayed your run, but you're gonna head out now.
No, that's
On
all right.
behalf of the people watching and all ours, thank you ever so much for sharing your knowledge, and we wish you a very, very good race day yourself. Any last words for the fans, my fans?
No, if those that are coming to Cairns, if it's for your first time, you know, obviously you're going to be travelling a fair way if you're coming from overseas. Yeah, allow that extra time to have a look around up there. It's a wonderful spot. It's a bit of our playground for Australians. Yeah, a lot of people head up there, particularly where I'm based in Victoria. There's a bit of a migration at winter where we get out of the cold and we head north, and it's usually to somewhere like Cairns. So it's a wonderful spot. There's actually if anyone else going up there hasn't been there before, I'll promote a business there that's called Hartley's Crocodiles. Crocodile Farm. You actually ride past the entrance on your bike. It's a fantastic experience. So yeah, do that one. That's what my kids will love me mentioning that.
Fantastic, cool. And as long as all the crocodiles are in there, they're not in the water, so we're all happy.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Again, Chris, thanks a million for everything, and have a great run. And hopefully, we'll keep tabs on you all race day.
awesome. Thanks, Steve.